think we got it.
We're good? All right, call to order. It's a 12:14. This is enough for a quorum too, right? We have enough board members on hand.
Yeah.
Okay, we have myself, Thomas Avila, Tony Kitchen. John, what was your last name? Are you a board member? Are you a board member?
Yes, he is.
There we go. I can't remember most of the time. I forget half people's names in life.
Funny openly vice president, remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You be vice
And
president.
David Miller, Mark Watanabe, and Joseph Rosenbaum.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, and then online we have Trevor Monago joining. And oh, yeah, there we go. That's it. We'll start off with secretary's report and minutes.
Okay, so we didn't get to publish these events because last in February, I missed several seconds of motions. So, if it's okay, what I'd like to do is repeat the motion and have someone here second each one. So we'll have it set for that, all right? Okay, the first one is voice repeaters. Tony displayed, we took care of that. NA60T motion to create budget line items for each of the committees from the general fund and set the budgets for digital systems, voice repeaters, and education outreach set at $0. That passed. Who seconded? Or will someone second?
I'll second.
Okay, that's number 2. Tony second. Okay, number 3, NA60T motion to fund the digital systems and voice repeaters budgets line items out of the infrastructure fund at 50% of the current balance to voice repeaters and 50% to digital systems. This passed. I need a second.
A second.
Sean.
Yeah, I figured we'd just go down the line.
NA60T motion to set the programs committee budget with the remainder of the operating budget to go to a club administration category. Subline items of liability insurance, $220, equipment insurance, $220, PO box fee, $280, office supplies miscellaneous, $10, online services, $175, PayPal transaction fees, $46. Total club administration, $951. Total budget expenses, $1,926. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, NA60T motion to pass the budget as discussed. I need a second.
No. Oh, wait.
Mark?
Mark.
Okay, and other than that, everybody has already seen the rest of the report, right? Do I get a motion to accept and second and all that?
Mark seconds. All in favor of,
Wait, who put the motion?
here, I'll put the motion, as stated. And it was seconded by Mark. All in favor of accepting.
Favor?
Is it always a majority when
we
it's
go.
all in favor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just because I'm still trying to learn protocol.
so,
Okay.
4.
So that's, I'm done.
well, actually, in this
All right.
case, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, up on the screen. Trevor, can you tell me if you see this screen okay?
Yep, looks good. Looks
You
good.
might be on mute. All right. Your audio is good too, so you can be
Thanks.
heard, just to confirm. So this is updated as of last night. We got 5 new members. We have a total of 45 at this point. Technically, we have 46, but the 46th member sent in money and didn't tell me who he was and hasn't responded yet to my inquiry. So I can't really list him yet until he sends me an application. So looking at the revenue, we can see that we're still about 270 or a little less shy of what we expected to get for dues. this is pretty consistent with what happens year to year. We'll pick that up in the next few months. And so total revenue, 1339.25. We've spent very little so far this year. The only new expenditure that we've had so far has been the Google Workspace that I pay for each month. It's like $10 and change. Let's see if I can scroll this. I'm using a new dual monitor setup and it's a little bit confusing. Oh, I scroll it here. Okay. So if you remember from the last board meeting, we had basically reorganized how we were doing our budgeting and accounting. We created out of the general fund buckets for each committee. This is more moving us along towards kind of like a fund accounting system, which is a much more difficult accounting system because now I'm having to track, not just cash in and cash out, but what fund each transaction comes from. And what committee each transaction goes to. So instead of one bucket in and one bucket out, I now have 3 buckets in and 7 buckets out, 6 committees plus the general budget. So that's what I'm trying to do, is reflect this on the statement in such a way that it makes sense to everyone, right? Now, Les brought out the point, and it was a valid point. In a small organization like this, we typically started out in prior to 2019, we were cash only, things reflected in the books. When we got money in and when we paid the expense, the money went out. Well, we've had a lot of complexities come up since then. First of all, we started taking PayPal payments, and that means that the money that the member pays isn't the money that we get. And so I have to break it out into the convenience fees and the PayPal transaction processing fees. Then we added a secondary restricted fund. We have the infrastructure fund and the humanitarian fund. Then we went to a modified cash basis where the revenue that comes in is put to the operating statement for the dues year that they pay. Okay, so if somebody makes a payment in October 2024 for the 2025 dues, it doesn't show up. That payment doesn't show up in October 2024. It shows up in January 2025. Then we added some more complexity by breaking out into these 6 different buckets for the committees. And at this point, we've moved more towards an accrual type system or modified cash basis. As a small organization with less than $50,000 in gross receipts annually, we are not required by law to follow the generally accepted accounting principles. GAAP is the acronym for that. And that's kind of what that conversation that Les alluded to at the last board meeting was about. Although I generally try to follow GAAP, GAAP gets very complicated. And the biggest area of complexity is in what's called fixed assets. Now, fixed assets are any expenditure where we're buying something that's going to last more than a year. You're buying paper for your printer, that gets expensed off right away. That's an expense. But you're buying a printer, that's a different story. Say you spend $1,000 on a printer, you think it has a useful life of 5 years. Well, if you're using what's called straight line depreciation, that means you would have a $200 expense each year, which you divide by 12 and have a monthly expense that's depreciated off. There are about 12 different ways that you can depreciate assets, right? And when you're dealing with assets, and accounting for assets, you're looking at the purchase price. How much did you pay for it? The book value. The book value is the purchase price less depreciation. The insured value, the resale value. We're basically looking at potentially a lot more complexity in how we're doing the accounting based on the decisions that we've made. Now, although it's not legally required, I think we need to kind of come up with a hybrid approach that is not too complicated, try to keep it simple, but yet follow the goal, which is multifold. First of all, each committee needs to know where they stand, as far as making expenditures, and understand that the budget does not mean you're authorized to spend that money. It means that's kind of earmarked so that you can have a general idea and make plans that fit within that general idea of what you might have to expend. The actual expenditures are voted on by the board on a case-by-case basis. And then make sure that our general expenses fit within our budget. We're not going over, and track our income. And that's the purpose of this, right? Trying to keep it simple. So I would not say that I'm 100% following generally accepted accounting principles, but it's kind of a hybrid between, I call it modified cash. It's a hybrid between a cash and an accrual system. So what you can see here is the only expenses that we have are paid so far. We paid some for online services and we paid some PayPal transaction fees, but we've only spent $60 so far this year. And then you can see below that our balances. The reason why I did not send this out is I didn't have time to make it down to the post office and pick up our bank statement. And I always like to reconcile these numbers against our bank statement to make sure everything's perfect before I send it out to the group, because that's going to get published, right? But I believe everything here is correct. I just wanted to get the bank statement and reconcile the numbers before I send it out. So there's our statement. Now, what we don't have here is inventory. This whole category of fixed assets has been a nightmare for me. I have this long list of stuff. I don't know who has it. I don't know what it's worth. I don't know if it even exists anymore. I have tried going through the list and tried to value things. Typically we should have an inventory list, and it's common practice. If you have, say, a repeater that say you estimate it's going to last for 10 years, pay $10,000 for it, you depreciate it by $1,000 a year. After 10 years, you can carry it on your books at a value of $1. There's no more depreciation. It's still in the inventory, but it's just got a nominal value because, it's going to break down and you're going to resell it. And if you resell it, then that's going to come in as income up here at the top, donated equipment sold, right? Which is a blank line right now because we haven't sold any donated equipment this year. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that we have not came to a conclusion on how to value and depreciate. Now, depreciation is really important if you're paying taxes because you get a tax write-off for the depreciation, but we don't pay taxes. So it's really not that important. In fact, the only reason why we might want to track it is if we intend to replace it with something that has a very similar value. So for example, an LCD projector. If the board decided that we needed to have an LCD projector and the cost is $500 and it's going to last 5 years, you might want to depreciate it by $100 a year and then know that in the year that it is the 5th year, we're going to have to replace it and we're going to have to put $500 in the budget for that. It seems to me that the only thing that falls in that category is a laptop. Our club laptop is defunct, and that would be a nice thing to have. Anything else, the other expenditures tends to fall, the equipment expenditures tends to fall within a committee, right? So generally the voice repeaters or the digital systems committee. Now, I had a chat with an accountant and with ChatGPT, just trying to get some guidance on how to deal with this. And one of the suggestions was when a fixed asset falls under a committee, you basically, expense it to that committee's budget, against that committee's budget. But if it were half and half, you might expense half to one committee and half to another if it's a shared resource. And it all seems to get kind of complicated. And so, especially this inventory, right? I think it's important to maintain an inventory, but I really don't think it's something that I can do. I think that this responsibility really needs to be, I'm talking about a written document. Each committee needs to take responsibility for its own assets. Now, I can certainly keep track of the club-owned things, if we buy a laptop or LCD projector. But the assets that the committees buy, I think they need to be responsible for A, valuation, and B, looking at issues such as what's the replacement cost and what should it be insured or not. And I, as treasurer, am going to need to know whether you want things to be insured and how much we should insure them for, because it costs us money to insure things, and it's one of our biggest expenses. And I don't want to insure things unless we really think we should. And that needs to come from, I think, the committee chairs.
And the donated items also come into that.
Yeah, and so
Zero value or-
and that's been part of the out of control nature of what's been happening is we've had these donated items come in. Yeah, we've accepted a lot of them. Some of them we've resold. A lot of them they're just sitting around. I have a pretty good guess that, William has this or that. And I know I have a repeater at my house that's sitting and gathering dust. But whether or not I should insure them, it seems to me that we probably wouldn't want to insure something unless it's out in the field, right?
Yeah, in use.
Yeah. So, but these are just assumptions that I've made, and I have not had board direction on this. So I wanted to bring these issues before the group so that you can be thinking about policies. Speaking of policies, it is normal for a group such as ours to have kind of like, I don't know what to call it, the red book, the Bible, standing procedures manual, where we have a list of standard things, standard operating procedures that it acts as guidance for new people like Sean coming in. So that, they don't have to go through and read through 5 years of board meeting minutes to figure out how it is that things are done. And so this conversation, kind of leads into that idea that, we could have just some general guidance that talks about how the budget works, how funding works. And a lot of it's in the Constitution and bylaws, but sometimes there's kind of details, that doesn't get into a finite enough description of how things are actually done. It's kind of a big picture overview. So those are my recommendations, that we get ourselves, I don't know what we're going to call it, standard operating procedures, SOP guide for the executive board. So yeah, I think we're on track. I like the suggestions that we've made to move to this detailed funding. It's a lot more work than what I had to deal with in 2018 when I started as treasurer. It's a lot harder to deal with this using a spreadsheet. I'm thinking about the idea of moving to QuickBooks or another accounting setup, because they have little apps to run your depreciation and stuff like that. But you could do it a lot of different ways. We're not constrained by regulations because we don't have over $50,000 in revenue. If, to what Les said, if we wanted to expense off something, you buy an LCD projector and you say, oh, well, Thomas, he's going to tear that apart and use it for parts in his upcoming projects for the committee. We could do that. We can expense the whole thing off, right? And that's simpler from an accounting standpoint. But if it's something we're carrying on the books, it's because we might want to insure it. We might want to replace it. It's something that's really vital to our operations. And we should minimize what we're carrying on the books. We can kind of, because it means everything that's on the books, we have to be responsible for, right? And the more stuff we're having to be responsible for, the more work we're all committing to.
So with that, Tony, I would recommend the board look at purchasing QuickBooks. There's a yearly thing. I've used it in business. You can customize it. It will take away the pain that I'm hearing. How accounting works. It'll answer a lot of those questions. There's different things you can plug in. It sounds like you already know a lot of that. But maybe when we talk about spending money, that's something we should really, get a year, pay for it.
See how much a year costs,
It's not
bring it
that
to the
expensive.
next meeting. Maybe it'll.
Yeah,
help
I'll
with
look into it.
Yeah, and then we can
Yeah.
move this whole spreadsheet stuff, unless you're really geeky on a spreadsheet, which I'm not, but I've certainly met people who are, it's painful. I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're doing, Tony, because it's, a lot of work.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on what we've got here for the budget? Remember, my intention was to implement the motions that were put into at the last
Yeah.
meeting. I'm not trying to put my own spin on it.
I just regards to the committees, so when they spend money, do they ask you for the money and then spend it, or they
So,
just spend the money and give you a receipt?
yeah, we've done both.
Okay.
And, basically, if you're going to spend the money up front, just make sure that the board has authorized it, because if the board hasn't authorized it first, you're running the risk that they won't authorize it, and then you're out of luck. Now, we've never really had that situation occur before. I mean, we've had times when people spent money without board authorization, but the board always rubber stamped it at the next meeting, so it was no problem.
Chill out, bunch of guys here.
So in that case, when you're spending money, you're trusting that the board is going to reimburse, and then that trust is a bet that is paid off. Now, when it goes the other way around, when the treasurer, the board approves something and the treasurer issues a check to somebody in advance of them spending the money, well, then the board and the treasurer are trusting that person to supply them back with the invoices. And either way, we can't violate that trust, but it can go either way as far as I'm concerned. And that's an example of something that we should put in the standard operating procedures
Sure,
manual.
that they understand that. It's
Yeah.
like at what point, because Digital has their expenses more or less figured out, as well as the repeater committee. So it looks like just a matter of time when they're going to implement it.
Now, the easiest way for me to deal with these kinds of expenses is if I could pay through PayPal. That's super easy. Because that's kind of self-documenting. If we're looking at, it depends on the volume. When we're doing things every once in a while, every couple of months, that expense comes in, it's not that big of a deal. But when you start making more and more and more purchases, especially small Manini ones, then maybe we ought to have a credit card. Because that's where things will get documented, and that would be an easier. We've just never really spent, like when we spend money, it's kind of a big ticket item. We, buy the ICOM 7300 or something like that. And so it's never been an issue but I think it's going to be an issue.
Just to let you guys know too, with QuickBooks, you can tie it to your bank account, to the credit card.
Yeah.
So all these kind of expense tracking kind of things just can be, it's done, it's accounted for, and even the taxing situation can be worked out through the program.
Right. So that's exactly right. And that's what I am thinking we've grown to the point where it's gotten complex enough that we need a better way of doing this.
Yeah, because then you become such a silo.
Yeah.
As you develop a system on a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no actionable items there. Yeah, I mean,
Well, we just
I
got
think we should look to purchase
somebody got a
QuickBooks.
motion second the treasurer's report.
Oh, okay.
Subject to audit. Mark.
Mark, all in favor of accepting?
What was
Who was the second?
Oh, I'll
Mark,
second.
or-
No,
Mark
he
was
was the
first.
second.
I'll second it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I saw all.
David?
I'm sorry. Yep.
Oh,
Just looking at already.
online information about QuickBooks. There's 3 levels, but
Mhm.
1750, 4950, or 11750 per month.
What was the cheapest?
1750 per month.
I would go for a yearly, because that's where you really get the break. And there's a thing, because I was just using that there's different forms. It says we're a nonprofit, but we should take that path as a nonprofit.
There's also an online version.
Yeah, that's what I used. You don't use software.
Yeah, I think I would look into the online version.
Yeah.
What I am hoping is that it will have more than one access account.
It does,
Okay, so that
yeah.
I don't have to be the silo and people don't have to call me and say, this or that. They can go in online, log in and look it up for themselves.
Yeah, I really liked it because I do not like accounting at all. And I started my business a few years back. It was just like mileage, all kinds of things you can throw into it.
Yep.
To track. And you can move your receipts around and customize and by category.
Mhm.
So, and then you set up a tax system for it. So it keeps track of it for you.
Yeah.
Which for a nonprofit, I don't know how that works.
Do we have anybody from the Digital Systems Committee? Because I mean, I know Luke is head there.
I guess well, me
Yeah.
and Trevor are both digital.
Is there a committee report for this month there?
All right, can you hear Trevor?
Yep, I can hear.
The report for the month.
I mean, as far as I know, there's no report, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Luke on that one.
One problem solved.
Well, I mean, if anything.
What?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if there's no
No, I
report,
don't.
then,
I don't think he told any of us. in the
yeah,
committee.
I mean, maybe we can loop back to it if he shows up before the member meeting later.
I do know, he's kind of a busy guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he did say initially on when we kind of prodded him to be the chair guy. It's like, look, I can't,
Yeah, if there is anything
Can't be there.
actionable or anything, if that could be, if a report exists, if it could be emailed or at least talked of to us, that'd be good. See what direction things are going in or whatever. Make sure he's alive. For now, though, we can move
I
to,
move that we, all the committees file a monthly report regardless, even if it's nil.
nothing to report. that
Nothing to
kind of thing.
report or whatever.
Yeah,
Just,
that'd be good.
books,
I
David
second.
moved, and Sean seconded.
Yeah, all in favor of just having a,
Yeah, because I
Having
have
a- any kind of report.
I first visited before, but a report. It is,
We all,
Yeah.
good?
next up is education and outreach.
Oh, oddly enough. You have a report.
Oh, you might want to mention, the radio day as well.
Okay, yes, what's the date on that?
It could be any time in April,
Okay,
but April 18th is the official date. The ARL can be any time that works for us.
okay. So, just put that in here. Pencil it in. Okay, so, recent activity, just the boilerplate kind of stuff that we've been doing. We support the siren test every month, at least 2 locations, file reports and follow up on any actionable items. We always participate in Doug Wilson's first CertNet just from a emergency response perspective. We always come here to the BIARC meetings and the VOAD meetings as well. This month we approached the Volcano School of Arts and Sciences for an engagement between BIARC and our committee and the school. And we sent out a letter. We're waiting for a response back from them. And we attended the ARRL Pacific Division Town Hall meeting via Zoom. That was interesting. And another siren test. And then most recently, we were at the Hilo Union Elementary School this past Friday. And that was that was a good event. Very good participation and good support on the repeater from Lee and Linda and Bob as well, fresh out of the hospital. So very good. And coming up, we've got today's meeting and then another siren test, and that's about it. Future considerations, we've got the world, what is the title again? I'm
World
sorry, Joe.
Amateur Radio Day.
Okay,
We need a venue. If anybody has any ideas on a venue, we need an Elmer, or someone that can discuss things like, someone that's good with like FTA or things of that nature. And they can explain things like propagation and so forth. It's a knowledgeable, able person, you know, definitely somebody to do that.
okay. Well, along that same line, we had John KH6DLK at our meeting last week,
Yeah,
and we can
He's
feed that
FTA
into
guy.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man.
You know, I gotta say, HBK,
Oh,
has
HBK.
always been an inspiration when he talks propagation.
I was going to talk to him.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Because he just, you know, you've got, since I've been a ham, I've been listening to you. So I appreciate that.
It's all about the stuff.
Yeah.
But you just put it in, you know what I mean, there's a delivery mechanism to that for sure.
Future considerations, reaching out to East Hawaii schools, that's continual, ongoing. And we put on here, integrate a video display and programming, and I donated a video screen at our last meeting, Tony, that you can almost immediately take out of inventory. We cranked it up and it's not workable, not a usable item. So it can be immediately written off. So, and then William had brought up an engagement with IEEE, but I have no more information on that. And then there's continual EOC improvements. That's what we strive for. And scheduled events, we've got the Science Museum and the YMCA coming up. So more to come on that.
Is that Jason too? Is he involved with the YMCA?
Yeah. Any questions? Thank you, everybody who participates. You guys over there at that table are always there. And,
over there.
I have to get an antenna outside of my bay. I could
Others.
hear everybody, but nobody could hear me.
oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. Good to know.
well, it's not a, sort of a real engaging conversation other than, how old are you, what grade are you in,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Unfortunately, I was working, but I thought, what's her name? She was just cutting it up with these kids, really.
Lee and Linda are the
Yeah.
prime, and Joe whenever he's on as well. That's they've got the magic for engaging with children. Yeah. So,
Yeah. And Mark. Yeah, thanks again.
not me, everybody, but
You guys
Not
do.
to mention Jim was there.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next up is operating activities.
No report.
Okay.
Swing on field day.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know about how this goes because I have to test how long this is going to last. The battery that I've got coming, and then we can organize.
Yeah,
on,
let's try to correlate that with field day.
Sorry, just one quick comment on the ENOC, Big Island Hamgram. Our star participants, Joe and Fred, on the front page, engaging with the kids at Kamana School.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Good, Judy.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
What are you talking about? The Viber thing that you guys were saying?
The what?
You were pointing at something. What was that? What was that you were talking about?
The
Fox.
hunt?
A fox for a fox hunt. Yeah, I'll bring it up in the
The fox hunt. Okay.
program.
Yeah, yeah, I was just curious what you guys were.
Yeah.
Okay, so that fox hunt thing is still kind of.
Yeah.
Cool.
And maybe next month or something, or before field day, we could have are you doing direction finding today, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
you
there's
could
not
do-
much on it, but yeah.
Maybe you could do something with that, explain a little bit about the.
Yeah, that's why I brought it in and
That'd be
everything.
awesome,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then I have a short video that we can actually use. I mean, this works in the programs considering William's not here and I'm gonna pick up the slack. I don't have the most material for this. Mostly because when I started to dig into the amateur radio direction finding thing, it is huge. It's huge. They have like Olympic grade teams and they run.
Now they called radio direction orienteering.
Orienteering.
Yeah, right.
And like, if you go by their guidelines and everything, we are nowhere near that. This is a homemade ESP32 Fox that's not even up to snuff for their thing, but it's good enough to have some fun in a park.
Okay.
Like, their whole thing is having small 80-meter transceivers, 80 meters in a little tiny box that, you know, you use to, it's just a whole nother level. Like when I went down that rabbit hole, I figured I might as well just talk about it briefly for the meeting today and then bring up a couple other little things. I found some interesting facts on how they used to direction find ships during World War II. You know, even though you weren't transmitting, still find you. So
Right.
I found a video on that. Hopefully that'll suffice. If not, anybody has anything else to add for the meeting there or the program, that'd be great. I'm
I
gonna
would
be
like to
floundering.
say something about World Amateur Radio Day and stuff to the club when we
Yeah.
have a chance.
Talk it up. Yeah. Take 15, 20 minutes.
No,
Go real
no.
slow. Go real slow.
It's gonna be about 30 seconds.
Yeah, just yeah. Anybody has any announcements for that? That'd be good. Other than that, I'll see what next month can consist of. Like you said, I mean, it'll be good to show a little more and everything, but we'll see. Next up is public service communications, and I don't see Les. I know that I got his email. I emailed him about doing the marathon, and
I think he emailed us.
he
said
emailed back
there
there wasn't
wasn't
enough
enough
people.
participation. I told him I would go if I had a ride.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get there that early.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured that you and I would be joining, so I
Well,
was.
that would be cool if you would pick me up, backtrack, I could get some gas. money.
From his last email, it seemed as if he had already canceled.
Yeah.
Too,
no.
and I don't see him, so I don't know where we stand on that.
No report for now.
Yeah, I volunteered
yeah.
and pulled out, offered the TV and then pulled it back out.
Mm.
Okay. I wasn't sure to come up with
Well, yeah, no report. So we'll move on to voice repeaters. Trevor, if you're still with us, do you have any kind of report?
Hey, how's it going? Nothing new to report right now. Kind of waiting on William. I know he's been traveling, so I've been trying to get a hold of him and, you know, just see what he had in the pipe. Kind of get a pass down, but he's been pretty busy. We submitted our budget thing last meeting. I have a committee gathered more or less. You know, I sent out some messages on Discord and sent out some emails. I didn't get any replies, but yeah, I submitted to Joe the list of our members, and I think what we want to do is maybe once a month or maybe every 2 weeks, something like that, on a Saturday, go up to the repeater, you know, do a PM, check the visual of the antenna, power output. If we can wrangle up some kind of calibrated or otherwise known accurate frequency reference, you know, check how on frequency we are, and you know, just kind of get a baseline of what we have and make sure everything's working correctly. At the same time, we can kind of do an inventory. I like that idea, inventory of what the assets we have at each site, and you know, work up a valuation for them. So yeah, nothing crazy or interesting to report, but that's kind of what's in the plan. And Thomas, did you fix your Discord thing? Because I kind of want to spin up a channel or repurpose the repeaters channel to organize events for the repeater committee. So did you get that working?
Stop for a minute. Repeat that, please, Trevor.
Last part there?
Your Discord admin stuff, did you get that fixed? I want to spin up a voice repeater committee channel or repurpose the existing repeater channel, something
I
like
should be
that, so we can coordinate our committee.
I should be able to actually link you to that now. I just got the whole thing set back up on my computer there. I have no idea what happened, but yeah, I lost control of that for a little while. I'm happy nobody hacked it or anything. Yeah, I'll try and get you a link later today when I get home.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. Then we can I can coordinate the committee that way. Put out
Yeah.
polls, what dates work for everybody, blah blah blah.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's all I have to report.
Right on. Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, we need William. We definitely need him to earmark some stuff, take care of some stuff, but he's so busy. So busy. Everybody's busy. Let's see. Old business. Reaffirm February motions. Did we take care of that?
How many, committees are there?
6.
There's 6. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 reports here, I believe.
Luke's not here.
The digital systems, no. report.
Programs, that was, I mean, basically I took care of the programs, but the other one was, public service communications, that's less.
Okay. What was the one after digital systems? Not public service, the other one.
Oh,
Programs.
education.
Education and
Education
outreach,
outreach.
that's David.
I know that. Programs, no report for now, except what we're doing today.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that all the committees?
Yeah.
Well, there's
There's
yours,
6 committees.
operating activities, Joe.
Yeah, I have no report.
You mentioned that, thing,
So worldwide.
yeah, the AR.
Oh, yeah, the
So
Worldwide
that was-
Amateur Radio Day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
And then did we reaffirm the February motions? Was
Yeah,
that-
we took
all right.
care of that.
Let's see, review and codify any surviving and new BIARC executive board policies, rules and procedures, adherence to the meeting agenda.
oh,
I mean, I think we're actually
we're here.
doing pretty decent already today, but was there anything to add to that?
So that review and codify any surviving and new BIARC executive board policies. That's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
When you were mentioning the website, I would like to add something to that. That person, or we get a media person who would audit our media or social media. We tend to have, like, what we have, Facebook, radio is Telegraph. Then we're on Discord, which is kind of the Wild West. So I think we should appoint a board member or two, or the board should appoint somebody to kind of be, just gonna throw out the word, that kind of medias are, who would help manage our social media and our website, essentially. They don't have to actually do the work, the boots on the ground, but maybe they're the ones that kind of intervene to be the mediator. Because you can't just let these sites run unhinged. You need somebody who can be a contact. And there needs to be policies in place for bad behavior. So whatever that is. Because you know how it goes.
Excuse me, are you making a motion? or-
Yeah, I'd like to appoint somebody. And
Okay.
maybe that's how I do it. So you guys gotta help me with.
we
how-
don't appoint, we ask for volunteers
Yeah.
because we have no
I think
authority.
we should have somebody, because that can use and manage the administrative, our multimedia is like my point. So that's why I want to appoint somebody, because that would mean that we'd have to have access to the accounts to be able to add things and help work with the people who do use those sites to,
Okay,
to do things like Trevor or say Steph has wanted to do. And maybe that person in fact may not be a board member, but each board member needs to help.
okay, so right now, generally speaking, I do the Facebook posts and the YouTube posts, YouTube video uploads, right? Just recently, I did the member meeting from last month. I just uploaded a few days ago. And so far from what we recorded, we're good for this year. I'm gonna go back for the other ones and get them archived, right? I just really learned how to use a video editing program, so I'll be better with that. And I'm not gonna lie, I have slacked a little bit on the media stuff. I want to be more on it. If you want someone else to like work with me or check it out or whatever, that's fine. I'm just letting you know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that like, El Presidente's opened up the Discord and there's Telegraph. Honestly,
Telegram?
radio, Big Island Radio, is that Telegraph?
That has nothing to do.
What
We're talking
is-
about at Groups.io. That has
No,
nothing-
that's not us. That's
Oh,
a
is
not
it?
us.
It seems like it's pretty active.
Yeah,
but
but
that
that's
has- it's
another
not our
wire.
brand.
Okay.
It's not, has nothing to do
So
with that.
BIARC is Facebook, Discord.
Facebook, Discord, YouTube. I don't know if there's anything else.
So as far as the website,
And the website.
And the website.
So we should include that too.
it's just my best effort. No one's ever helped me with it, and I do the best I can. And
Yeah.
I'd be willing to turn it over to someone. But it's not something that really, I mean, the only oversight would be, Tony, you didn't get that done yet. It's not like there's any tough decisions. I mean, it's like, it's got a structure and the structure isn't gonna change and,
It's just been able to update it how,
So the
not
only way to make
have,
this
like-
happen, Sean, is for you to twist somebody's arm and get them to volunteer. Because I certainly don't have any more time to put into
I
it.
don't know if, like Trevor and Steph, but outside of the board, I think the board needs to oversee their own media. I think that's the responsibility because BIARC puts their name on their media.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that
So
legitimately we should, but.
But
can
now that you
certainly
know
have-
who is in control
I,
of
I
these
have a
things.
suggestion. How
Okay,
about at every meeting, we discuss, we have a few minutes to discuss that, to see if everything's going okay, if anything needs to be changed, whatever. We could also complement that with emails and so forth. So I don't know if we necessarily need to appoint someone, but just overall board supervision.
well, that's what, certainly is appointing someone is. It's more like you can't run a site under a certain name and not have any, moderator or person.
So it's a function of the Education and Outreach Committee. I'm on the Education and Outreach Committee listed as the webmaster, right?
Yeah.
It's Education and Outreach is responsible for this thing, for social media.
Okay.
And
You really need to have people who can monitor their sites. You can't just leave it open and wait until somebody. And you've had a number of people who use those sites ask and volunteer and no one, So I'm
Who
just
volunteered?
suggesting, I don't know, maybe Trevor is still interested. I think Steph is, and they have actually written. I'm just asking that you guys, again, BIARC, take the responsibility of having not just this overall, but you can't just, and then we've all, I think, been around chat rooms like AOL, been around this for a little while. You have to have somebody watching.
so there is the BIARC listserv, and Les Hittner is responsible for that, right?
Maybe he should.
So we've divided it up. The Educational and Outreach Committee, I'm on that committee and I'm dealing with the website. Les has been on that committee. He's dealing with BIARC at mailman.qth.net. That's the BIARC list. Yeah, that's Les's committee. Joe is doing Facebook and YouTube.
The Hamgram is.
Discord.
The
Right now
Hamgram
is
is
Thomas.
Lee Critchlow.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we are all
We're
barely
self-releasing.
keeping up with each of our own little pieces of the puzzle. None of us have any bandwidth to do what you're asking.
I don't think it's like the board, when I suggest that they just have, is that they take charge of the name. It is BIARC site. Anybody can help, manage it with, or it just.
Okay, how about this? I volunteer to moderate the Discord. How's that?
Yeah, and
Sorry, what
that's
did
why
you say,
I'll be
Trevor?
sending you a link there for that since I just got back into that.
I didn't hear you,
like, really
Trevor.
bad.
What?
Say again?
Trevor is volunteering to moderate the Discord. It seems like everybody, each of the other social media platforms kind of has someone in charge. So I'll do the
Yeah.
Discord. And then seems like everything else is covered. So
So
if everyone's okay with that, then I volunteer that.
do we want to make a motion and go through all that or just, ask for volunteers? What are we doing
I
here?
think we asked for volunteers, but
Okay.
I think what you do though, is what I think you guys are, is that, but I've already heard the answer, is education manages, so most.
Education and
media.
Outreach Committee
Yeah,
manages.
because
it.
somebody just needs to be aware of who's in the board.
Yeah.
You can, no, I would love to have the time to help you with your website. If once in my life, I loved playing with them.
So David,
But
can
I
we put Trevor
totally
on your committee?
participate
Yes, Trevor, you're welcome to join our committee. If,
To be able to run the Discord. That way,
You
somebody's an
available?
admin.
And then any other volunteers, I mean, if anything, just make it be known,
Yeah.
let it be known,
Sign
then
me up.
you can get tagged in.
What do we need to do to give him the access rights, admin level?
I just have to log in and assign a moderator, and I think Luke was saying he wanted, oh, it was Stefan. Stefan said
Stefan
something a
was
while
doing
ago,
too.
so,
I don't
yeah,
know
because
if
he
he
actually
still
emailed me.
does.
So, yeah, I'll get those links out now that I'm back in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll turn that into a motion.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, hold
That's
on.
what I'm looking
Tony
for.
motion,
most of our.
I move to add Trevor to the Educational and Outreach Committee and appoint him the responsibility of monitoring the Discord channel. And Thomas will give him admin access.
Right on.
Anyone second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Um,
All right.
Cool. Then we've got our sites covered.
Sorry, and as part of that, could you
okay.
itemize the other committees and who's responsible?
Yeah, it's in the news. Everyone should know that Lee did my job. She got the committee list. It's in the sidebar of the March newsletter. I'm going to be copying her work onto the website.
I think I got some others, so let me get it all together and I'll send you my update one,
Okay,
and then you can distribute it.
so Joe is going to send me the updated list of committee members. He's going to include Trevor in the Educational and Outreach,
Okay,
and I will publish that on the website.
quick question, is Lee and Les on the Education Outreach Committee?
They're associates, but I'll make them
Make them three members?
make it, yeah.
Okay, fair enough, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on next?
Next,
In that same vein, we should probably do some educational work on procedures, bylaws, et cetera, in general.
Oh,
Well, the election process that we just went through was very, I found it kind of confusing that a lot of people didn't know that there was a nomination process, an election process, and then that the board was involved in actually determining what functions were filled by whom. So
I want to
there
say,
needs to be a proper
Yeah.
spelling out of that process. It's not whoever's favored or whoever's been promised a job at any given moment. It's a democratic process that we go through.
That
So,
could be included in the standard operating.
Yeah.
procedures.
Well, it's spelled out pretty clearly in
It
the
is. I thought it
Constitution
was,
and
but
bylaws. You just got to read the Constitution and bylaws.
well, there's a misunderstanding out there that
Yeah.
people have been promised jobs that, that's not the way the system works. So,
I figure if we just cover it at the meeting, it'll only take 5 minutes. We
okay.
can just remind everyone,
Yeah, well, everybody could read the bylaws on their
but
own.
they're not going to do that. So let's remind them.
yeah, reminders.
I actually have read it a few times, but.
No.
Very good at bureaucracy.
Next up, we have Jim Tater. You had
oh,
a
the raffle tickets?
raffle proposal?
Oh, hold on, my proposal was, have a raffle that goes kind of based on what we do at the VFW. They raffle the tickets off and then they have a drawing near the end of the meeting and give half the money back to the people that they pulled the tickets for. The other half of the money in the VFW goes to the Christmas party, but what I'd like to do for the VFW or for here is if you guys will approve it, half of the money will go into the treasury fund for the repeaters and other auxiliary radio programs that we're doing to help boost that program up. And so it's half of it you returned at every meeting, just to, I will volunteer to buy a first roll of tickets, okay? They're only $20 at that office.
Max, yeah.
So I'll take care of that. That's 2,000 tickets. That'll get us started. And then every time, just whoever's selling them, I'll sell them up half, and then each person can keep or whatever. But half of the money will go into the repeater fund or whatever what you guys want to designate it to go into for funds for the club. And then the other half would be returned to the members who have actually bought raffle tickets.
So how much would the raffle tickets be?
$1 each.
And how many winners are there? Is it
It's
just
depending
one?
on how much you sell. You know, I mean, it's even at the club, it depends on how many people buy. And then the commander, they just sell like maybe $3 and $5 and $10. And if there's a bunch more guys, then you can make the prices depending on the amount of money that's, or the amount of raffle tickets that are sold at
Say
that meeting.
10
So it's
spots
gonna vary
at
every meeting. It's
$60
never gonna be
or
the same, more than likely.
10 spots at $10, 10 spots at $1. You know that you'll have a $20 pot for said thing, and it both sides should be happy at the end. But that's mostly what you want to look for, and make sure everything's equal.
There's no guarantee on how many tickets you're gonna sell to
Yeah.
the members at the club meeting, so that's the only thing that's gonna be, half will be returned to the members in the raffle, and the other half will be, I mean, you're the treasurer, you can decide what you want to do. But my opinion would be half to be returned to the club members and half to go into the ticket.
Well, that half and half is fine. And my only question is, let's have something standard and try not to change it up and try not to make it confusing. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
We can
Just make
figure
it,
that out.
Then-
make
then-
it $5, and then an oddball, whatever the different.
so you're saying the ticket price is $5?
No, ticket
Oh,
price would be
so
$1,
the
but if
prize
you want to
is
see what a
$5?
prize would be a $5 or something like that, then, and then if there's an odd thing, to decide if you want to throw that in the kitty or give it back to the people. So
That's a good way of doing
So
it.
like if you had a first place, second place, third place prize,
Yeah.
I mean, that seems reasonable.
well, either way, I mean, because they throw the tickets in the hat, pull it out. And depending on how many people spend how much money on the tickets, half goes over here, and then whatever's left is they divvy it up. And
Divided equally amongst the three winners.
not necessarily, no, there's like a $2 winner, a $3 winner, a 10. You can do it any way you want.
So
It's up to
you
guys.
keep
That's up
trying
to
the
you.
prizes.
You decide if you want to know 5. I don't
Well,
really
I
care.
don't want to decide. I want something put
Well, I'll
out.
make a proposal. Okay, let's say each person, depending on how many tickets are sold, if we can, make it a $5 prize for each person who wins the raffle. And then the balance, at least 50% will go into the club
So
kitty.
you take the total amount, say it's $50, you divide that in half, it's 25,
And that goes on the side.
and then
And
that
then
would be five
$25, so
$5
it could be 5
prizes.
winners. Yeah.
Someone want to make a motion, discussion, anything?
Decent idea.
I move to accept Jim's proposal as stated, and
That's what we need to do. Just
Uh,
accept the proposal.
Starting when, next month?
Next
Yeah.
month, I don't have any tickets.
right under this.
So that
Right
being
now.
said, we'll work out what the prices are. Take care of it. Right, it's because you're talking about first, second, third prize.
No.
$5 each.
We
Oh,
went
Just
with that
transfer
idea.
on period.
I was just trying to
Keep it
understand.
simple.
I wasn't trying to change it.
Yeah, just say,
I think it'd be great to take it to the next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
This is legal under our,
yeah, it's just like the raffle at the Ham Fest and stuff like that.
Right,
It's not-
right.
It's not gambling, it's a simple raffle.
yeah, it's fun,
Yeah.
very fun.
As long as there's a
Yeah.
ticket involved, from my understanding, if a ticket is involved and and at least some of the proceeds are going to a nonprofit,
Right.
then it is legal in
Okay.
Hawaii especially.
Yeah, the-
I mean,
Half has to go into something for the club,
Right,
okay?
okay.
all right.
So if there's a difference of an extra $1 or something like that goes into the club.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we have a motion. Is anybody second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor of accepting this? All right. Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
Get it, make sure to get it in the newsletter.
Oh, we did the Christmas party,
Yeah.
this spreads for like 50 people. We had about 50 people there and you couldn't believe the amount of food that was left over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal.
Excellent.
All right. And it was for the next thing up here, other business I did have a meeting with Bill Hansen about repeaters on island. He wanted to know what repeaters were active and running and everything. I'll get a little bit more info. And did you get my email about that, Tony?
I don't remember seeing it, no.
Okay. I'll check back on that because I've had like weird issues. Yeah, I talked to you about it, and then I'll talk to him a little bit more and see if he can come in because I didn't hear back from him either. So I'm wondering how far my email chain got there.
You might
Yeah.
still find it in your drafts folder.
Yeah, probably. My eyes keeps twitching from that draft folder. My workplace internet is bad. If anything, we could table that to the next meeting there, and I'll see if I can get Bill to actually join us and explain things from his.
Well, before we table it, I can comment on that.
Mhm.
I know that Bill's goal is to have 5 VHF repeaters.
Mhm.
That's what he's shooting for. And there are a few concerns, and maybe Bob Snyder might be able to, how's he doing?
He's out of the hospital, but I haven't spoken with him yet.
Maybe he might be able to update us on the historical perspective here, but there were certain frequencies designated for the mountaintop repeaters by Rick Ching with the intention of preventing interference, right? And so staying within that framework was one set of objectives that people kind of were looking towards. The other thing is making sure that we go through Rick Ching, that everybody goes through Rick Ching, including civil defense, because he's the designated repeater coordinator. And remember, that's an ARRL function, right? And the third issue is there are a lot more repeaters than everybody realizes, and they seem to be changing pretty rapidly. There's at least 6 repeaters VHF that I'm aware of. Maybe 2 or 3 are BIARCs. One is VOAD, well, maybe 2 even, and a couple of private ones that are waiting to be deployed. So all of these different groups have plans, and they're all going to need frequencies. And I was just looking before you brought this up at Rick Ching's website, trying to look at the spreadsheet to see what was allocated and what wasn't allocated. But I didn't really have enough computing power to do that because my computer was running slow. But he has a site where you can bring it into a spreadsheet and you can filter it by island. And it looks to me like he's using a 200 kilohertz separation on the VHF. So we're talking the 146 and 147 repeaters. I was just trying to get a count of how many slots are available versus how many we've already used, you know? And I couldn't even get that far. So, you know, I think that makes a difference. You know, like if there's 20 available slots and we've already used 18 of them and civil defense wants 5 more, well, there's going to be 3 people that are out of luck for sure, and a few other people that, you know, might not have frequencies available to them. But if there's available slots, maybe there's not going to be an issue. And so taking a counting of, you know, an inventory of that is easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, the way it was phrased at least was he just wanted to know what repeaters were actually still active. So I know Repeater Book and few other sites, they're not up to date at all.
Every site is old.
Yeah,
It's really a
just the way
hard
it is.
problem.
Yeah.
If you know who the players are,
Mhm.
you know, like KH6BFD is one. There's Hamakua Kohala Radio Club. They've got the Girl Scout Camp Repeater. There's the Hawaii Mainland All Star Network. There's BIARC. There's Carter Davis Group. He's mostly on UHF. Yeah.
Lily Blades.
Hmm?
You probably want that one, Lily Blades.
Yeah. There's Bill Wicking, what he's doing with HPA. So they've got stuff in play and then they've got plans. And depending on how far they are into a plan, you know, somebody may have already cemented in a tower and hasn't submit his coordinated thing to the repeater coordinator yet. But they're kind of like halfway involved in building something out. Got spent $5,000 on equipment. They'd really be pissed off if suddenly someone grabbed their frequency that they were planning to use out
Right.
from under them. So we just got the VOAD repeater deployed, 146.720 that used to be on Mauna Kea.
Mhm.
That should be active now in Kamawela.
Oh, nice. Good.
So, you know, I hope there's someone, I hope there's someone with a better handle on it than me. I have a pretty good handle for like part of it, but I really don't know what is on the Kona side. But what I do know several people that have repeaters that have kind of been talking to me and saying, gosh, I sure would like to deploy this thing somewhere. So yeah, it's not an easy problem to coordinate this.
Okay. Well, if anything, we probably just talked about it a little bit more anyway. That way I can be on the same page other than what you just said. That's
So
that's
Bill
pretty much
was
it.
planning to get together the stakeholders,
Mm.
you know, like all these people that I just mentioned,
Mhm.
and got to have a little meeting. And that's really a good idea.
Mhm.
I wish he would schedule that.
Yeah,
Because I think that's the only way we can hash it out.
definitely. Well, other than that, I don't think there was anything to circle back to. Anything? I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All right, all in favor of